Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a process video for you today. I'm going to be working on day 9 of On the Brink from Bythewell4God. I am starting off as I have been in these last few videos with a full sheet of paper. This is mixed media paper. It's Bristol vellum paper. I'm starting off with a thin coat of gesso. Just kind of want to make a non-porous surface here on my paper as much as possible. I'm also wanting sort of the texture of the brush strokes and that kind of stuff just to give this a little bit more interest. And then I dried that really well. And now I'm going to be coming in with these stencils. Some of these are from Tim Holtz. This one is a Crafter's Workshop stencil, I think. And then I have this one from Bythewell4God that released with this kit as well. I'm coming in with some light and fluffy modeling paste, and I'm just going to go through and randomly add these this texture paste around the page all over. I really just after the texture here, and so it's going to be very random how everything kind of goes down. And I'm sorry, it's probably hard to see because it's just white on white. But I'm just going to go around and add all of this. And so I am doing this pretty quickly because I don't, I'm just kind of piling my stencils over there to the side. And so you really want to make sure that you wash them well right after you use any kind of texture paste or anything, because it can dry in the holes if you don't. So just going back and forth in here and adding this texture paste. And one of the day 9 today is talking about, the title is Choose the All and the Door. And so this is referencing back to the Israelites and what the instructions that they were given if they were encountered a person who was a slave but had wanted to choose basically between their freedom and staying a slave. And so there was they would serve for 6 years, and in the 7th year they would be set free. And if they went into slavery married, then their spouse could go with them. But if they were in slavery and their master gave them a spouse and they had children or whatever during those 6 years, then at the end of that time they would be free, but their family would not. And so it was kind of the choice of that person that they could make, that they could decide that they love their master, they love the life that he provided for them, and they wanted to continue to serve him. And so he would be taken in front of the judge. They would basically pierce his ear, and it was just an outward sign that he was choosing that life, that he was choosing for the rest of his life to serve in that way. And I've heard it referred to as being a bondservant, but also as being a love slave, because that was really the decision that they were making. So stop really quick here. What I'm doing is I am coming in with some distress paint. This was, I think, brushed corduroy. And I started out just kind of applying it and then trying to spray water. I'm trying to get this to kind of move around all of those areas. So it's just not really doing what I was wanting it to do here at this point. So I'm going to end up spraying it down with some water and then getting that distress paint to really start moving at this point. And then I decided to bring in some plastic, just some wrapping here, and then I'm going to make kind of a wash with this. Distress paint is really fun because it just reacts really interestingly with water. It just does a lot of fun things, but still when it dries, it's going to be permanent like other acrylic paints. It also dries with like the best finish. If you've never used distress paint, I would encourage you to get some. It's awesome stuff. I really love it. Anyway, I'm going through kind of from end to end, trying to create drips and marks, and then just adding the paint around, and then I'll just keep spraying it, move the paint around. Here I'm going to smush some of this paint in there, just trying to get some interesting textures and coverage with this. I'm going to spray it with some more water. There's a lot of water on this page. And then I'm going to basically let everything dry. I'm going to use my heat tool, and then I'm going to come in with scorched timber. It's the new Tim Holtz color. And man, oh man, is this a good color. It's so good. So I just came in with just really the tip of the cover and just added a little bit, and then I added some water, you can see over to the side, and I'm going to do that same thing. I really love the way that these two colors played together. There's just so many interesting color variations with scorched timber. So it was a lot of fun. I can see myself using this color a lot. So it was really fun. I'm just going to go back through here again wet paintbrush, picking up some of that paint, and it looks like I'm leaving those marks, but I'm really just trying to put the paint down, and then I'm going to spray it and let it wick around. And what I want it to do is kind of gather in between all of those places of the different textures and the different texture pastes and the different, it just reacts differently in different areas depending on how, dark it is and everything. You can see how that ended up, which I love this. If I was not doing like a really bright page, I would just leave it just like this, if this kit wasn't, full of bright colors. But because I just really love how that turned out. So I can see using that combination for some other like vintagey colors. But excuse me. So I have this door that I want to put on the front, because this day is choose the all and the door. And I'm actually using one of the journaling cards because the doors on those are just a little bit bigger. And then I'm coming in with some more of this Amsterdam ink. This is one I'm just really liking. I love the color, and I love how it kind of plays with all of the colors, and it matches the kit. And so what I'm basically doing is I am dripping down a little bit of it. I'm spraying some water on it, and then I'm kind of using my heat tool to kind of direct the way that I want this ink to go. So in other times when I've used this ink in this kit, or, through other pages that I've done, I've just kind of, sprayed it on there, sprayed it randomly. It did what it was going to do. But I'm kind of taking advantage of the fact that this is an acrylic ink. And so I can kind of spray it around, get it to kind of go where I want it to go. And then I'm just using my heat gun to help. So I want it to kind of play around those, the different textures and stuff. I want it to pool in different areas. And so I'm just flipping my paper around. I'm, flipping it upside down. I'm tapping it. I'm just, dabbing up a little bit extra. And incidentally, this is why I chose to journal this month in an actual journal instead of, I have a hard time doing this kind of mixed media stuff in my Bible. Just because I'm just too messy to do it. So I need to be able to pick things up and move them around and all those kinds of things. And so for me, working outside of my Bible is just easier for this kit. And then I'm coming in with one of the multimedia marks stamps from Bythewell. And I'm using, again, scorched timber here in the oxide. Now, I will say over the acrylic paint, this needs a minute to dry. So I really had to hit that with my heat tool for a minute to make sure that oxide was good and dry. And then I'm going to come in and just add a little bit of contrast now with some white paint. I just did a little bit of some gesso and some water. I'm using my fan brush. I find the reason I use a fan brush, I don't know if I've explained this, but you just get good size drops when you do that. I don't have one of the little Tim Holtz, like little splatter brush things. And so this just gives those really nice size of droplets. And I'm going back and forth here between these two journaling cards, and in the end I decided on this one because I feel like it's the one that kind of blends into the background the most. Of course, you could bring some paint up onto the corners of this card and really try to incorporate it more, but I felt like just gluing it down, it was going to be sufficient. I needed to trim a little bit, had something weird happening there. I think the paper had started to pill just a little bit, but and there's this one little spot that I want to make sure not to cover, because I love how the acrylic ink landed on the texture paste and it just made it look like stucco. And so I didn't want to cover all of that up in that area. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but in person, I just thought it added to kind of the pulling in of the kind of the texture of the door and just all those visual textures from this card. So I'm just going to glue this down. I used a lot of glue and I just held that down because it's so textured. And then that is just going to be everything for the cover. And now on the inside, I'm just going to create a couple pockets to store all of my notes. There were a lot of verses in this day, and it talks about, that verse in Exodus 21 about the servant and his master and choosing. But whenever you're kind of reading through some of the epistles in the New Testament, in Romans, Paul says that he's a servant. In James is a servant. Peter mentions being a servant. Jude, they really took that to heart, that they were servants. And that is what we should be doing. In Romans 12, this is in the devotional, Romans 12:1 talks to you about, you present your body as a living sacrifice, and it's your reasonable service. The version that's in the devotional says which is your spiritual worship. In the King James, it calls that your reasonable service. So I like that translation. So it's just something that, it's not unreasonable that we would serve the God of the universe, who has done so much for us through Christ. And so it just makes sense that would be, a reasonable choice to make. And so, there's just a lot of verses that are talking about being a servant and making sure that, we remember that we are not our own. We're bought with a price, and it's our responsibility to make sure that we are doing the most with that for the cause of Christ. So anyway, what you see me doing here, I took my very, very favorite of all of the papers that Bythewell released this month that I have been actually hoarding, and I split that and made 2 little side pockets here. And then I came in with some of those stickers, the clear stickers, because I had all of that paint and stuff on the inside. So I thought I'm just going to work with it and make it look like it's more of that whole mixed media situation. So I just added those other clear stickers right over the top. And again, all of that kind of gets covered up with all of my notes and things anyway. So it just kind of helps blend it across. At least in my mind, it works. So, and then there were 2 flashcards this month that, and this never happens, but there was, they were the same word in the 2 different sets. One was glory and the other was glorify. And so it was for the same verse in Peter, and I went ahead and wrote it on the other card. So I'm going to use this card as the backdrop for my the number of the day. So I'm just stamping that with the big idea outlined and then the script one. And then I decided I needed something to kind of help this pop off of that very, very busy background. And so I'm pulling in a little bit of this fabric that came with the kit. And I'm just going to create a little tiny tab here at the top. Sorry, I was off camera for most of that when I was trimming that down. But and then I'm going to take the title starter sticker and putting that on some craft paper just to give it a different look, trying to make it so that you can read it. And then I'm just going to run the length down the side there next to the number. I'm just going to glue that down, and then that's going to be basically it for this day. So it's kind of simple on the inside, but I love all of the texture that's on the outside of this page. And I hope that this is giving you some ideas. I have done more process videos for this because I'm really just enjoying this whole process, and I'm really enjoying sharing these devotional days with you as well. So anyway, this is how my page ended up. If you liked this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and until next time, bye.